everybody, and welcome back to OTT Executive Podcast. I'm Brian Mahoney, your host. I'm the CEO of Trend Research and the president of the OTT Executive Community. We're continuing in our conversations with leaders in the industry, and I'm thrilled today to have Christy Tanner. Welcome, Christy.
Thanks, Brian.
So, Christy, one of the things we love to do in this podcast series is sort of personalize and get to know some of the leaders in the industry. And we'd love to start with just your career background and kind of how you got to where you are today. Can you share your story?
Great question. My first job was with the Associated Press in New York City in the early 90s. I would call the AP the internet before the internet. You're always on deadline. Everything you're doing is disseminated all over the world, and everything is moving really, really fast. That created for me just an incredible sort of DNA and pace and ability to adapt to change. That was really useful when the internet really took off. So I went to business school thinking I'll just be a much smarter editorial person. And the internet was then really taking off by the late 90s. And I became, for lack of a better term, the change agent, first in magazines, then in TV. Now I've moved into audio even. And I've also worked in news, entertainment, and sports. So I've had an eclectic career. I sold TV Guide Digital to CBS.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And as a standalone business unit. So at the time that we did that in 2013, there really weren't, and there still aren't, a lot of case studies of legacy brand reinvents itself for the digital age and sells itself for tens of millions of dollars. But that's what we did with TV Guide Digital. And at CBS Interactive, again, streaming was taking off. It felt like the early days of the internet. And I had the opportunity to go back to news after more than a decade of being away and to launch our streaming efforts for CBS News, not only nationally and internationally in 89 countries, but for our more than 11 local owned and operated stations, and to integrate that with, our storied shows and brands like 60 Minutes and CBS Sunday Morning, along with social and reporting and documentaries. We did more than 80 documentaries with our CBSN original series. And it was a really, really fertile time for the development, I think, of digital and specifically OTT as we've now come to know it. After the Viacom merger, I reconnected with actually a former colleague from TV Guide days and helped start Swerve TV. We have two channels in the free ad-supported TV space. One is Swerve Combat, which is the number one combat channel in FAST TV. And then last summer, we launched Swerve Sports, 100% dedicated to women's sports. And I have to say, really 2 quarters into it, we're really excited about the growth that we're seeing and the momentum in women's sports.
That's awesome. So you had a great run at CBS Interactive. I think that's when we first met. When I ran my OTT Executive Summit, you came as a speaker, and we've stayed in touch since then. So what is your current role at Swerve?
I'm the chair of Swerve Sports.
Gotcha. Okay. And how's it going so far for Swerve?
It's going great. I have to say, a year ago, we went to CES and we pitched the idea of a all women sports channel, and we got some yeses. We were told, "Oh, it sounds good. We're interested." And then we waited 4, 5, then 6 months for a launch date. So there were many times in the first 6 months of last year that we thought, "Oh, maybe they won't really fall through." By the time we launched in late July, many of the active live women's sports seasons were finished. I mean, the real hot spot of women's sports is kind of March through July. And so when we launched were libraries of replays. And I have to say, we launched with more than 30 partners, content partners, and distribution partners. We launched on more or less at the same time on 6 different platforms. Roku and Pluto were the 2 biggest.
Okay.
And the sports that we had, freestyle trampoline, also Athletes Unlimited professional basketball and volleyball, professional football, timber sports, which is competitive wood chopping using both chainsaws and axes. Very cool. Is really popular on our channel. And then, of course, the sports that we already knew would perform well, boxing and MMA.
Hmm.
So as time has gone on, we're really taking a look at the data to see what performs,
Hmm.
and we are acquiring more of the sports that perform really, really well. And those that I just mentioned are all performing very well.
Yeah, it's funny. So most people know that I'm also the CEO of Flippin' TV, which is a subsidiary of the Freestyle Trampoline Association. We partnered with Swerve for the launch back in July. And the interesting thing is, you talk about women's sports, and we're not exclusive. The freestyle trampoline is non-exclusively women's sports. We have young athletes, and we have juniors and seniors and everything else like that. And we have a women's finals. But it wasn't until that conversation we're like, okay, we can make a cut of our women's qualifier in our finals and have its own stream, right? Its own lane for content and distribution. So I think that's a really important lesson for the industry is there's a lot of women's sports out there that may not be just women's sports, but you can find new distribution, you can find a home, and you can sort of carry that voice and that narrative forward. So I really like that experience. It's been going great so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's early days. For
Yeah.
instance, because of really the lack of transparency and data in the fast space, we don't really have great visibility into how well does boxing lead into trampoline, or how well does competitive trampoline lead into boxing, and what should we be doing more marathons of one sport.
Hmm.
um, we've seen that perform well in cable. Cable is, if you look at certain channels, they're all marathons now.
Hmm.
And we're sort of experimenting in how we're programming the channel to see what creates more time spent, more hours viewed, etc. But we would love to have more robust and transparent data.
Okay, cool. So now this is great because we got a little bit of your career background and your current role in Swerve Sports, what you're doing right now. But we're starting to talk about some of the challenges in the industry. So let's talk about that a little bit. If you think about right now, maybe putting on your sports hat or just in general, media and entertainment industry, what are the biggest challenges? We know we have a ton of options now as consumers. We know churn is still an issue and engagement is really important. Like, what do you see from your purview, and what are the big challenges and potentially some of the solutions, please?
Well, from the viewer perspective, I think that the complexity of discovery
Mm,
is it remains the biggest viewership challenge, and the unwillingness to really solve that for viewers uh, is I think a barrier to really full success for the OTT industry.
hmm.
There isn't a standards body that is regulating, how can you search any TV for the same show
Mm.
and return the same results? And that's
Right, and we don't.
frustrating.
We don't. You don't get the same. You could search on the exact title sometimes and not get it returned. So is that an industry standards issue? Is that I don't know. Is that something to do with the OEMs and the CT, all the different platforms like collaborating? Like, what's the right solution?
I don't know if it'll ever be solved. I don't know if there
Mm,
are the right incentives to fix it. I
mm,
think sort of this is not unique to the streaming industry
mm,
per se. It's that most of these companies are public. They're very much driven by quarterly results. The
mm,
KPIs change, and they can change from quarter to quarter. I think we had an era in which, let's say for the SVODs, driving subs was the key KPI, and then all of a sudden profitability became the key KPI for those companies that were public, and that happened pretty rapidly.
mm,
So these organizations had built up teams that were very, very focused on driving subs.
mhm.
All of a sudden, they had to pivot to profitability, and in none of what I just said is there an incentive to improve the experience for the viewer and the consumer? It's
Yeah.
completely driven by the, shareholder value and the stock price. And that's where I think that consumers are losing out.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, in several of the recent quarterly reports, they're not reporting subscriber growth anymore, declining for that matter. The metrics have changed. In some cases, they're not looking at metrics at all. It's just profitability, the bottom line, which is great for, financial reporting to Wall Street, not so great in terms of, understanding what the audience wants. Let's talk about some other trends. Let's talk about monetization. Are there other ways to monetize the viewer that's not totally disruptive? I mean, we've kind of settled on fast, and there's a lot of different fast channels. Advertising seems to have invaded even the SVODs, right? What do you think the future holds? Some people are talking about merchandising and different ways to kind of monetize that. What do you think?
The best way to monetize is to create unmissable content.
Mm,
So look at Heated Rivalry. It was there was that was a project that was taken to Canada that was produced at probably a lower price than it would have been produced had it been a big high profile project produced here in the States. And when it first launched, it wasn't a huge hit the first few weeks, and then momentum built.
mm,
The fandom came. The fandom built more fandom for
mm,
that show, and it became something that as of when you're going to show this, if you haven't seen it, you're not really part of the conversation.
hmm
6 months from now, there will be another example, but as of
So
right
right now it's
now,
must-see content at the water cooler, the virtual water cooler.
and
Hmm
the finale of Stranger Things was a predictable water cooler show
hmm
that you could plan for. And the way Heated Rivalry's success has built was unpredictable. So
hmm
I think that, I mean, that's, I think, a really great case study in that it shows that there's still room for the sleeper hit. There's also room for someone to make an educated bets on IP that already has a fan base.
hmm
And for something that maybe from the log line might not sound like it's of general interest, but and now
hmm
has become of general interest, I think that it just is a really good case study in that's creating monetization opportunities for years to come.
Yeah.
Not only for the person who wrote the books, but for the streamers that placed a bet on it.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on a key thing. Like if you don't have the engaging content, like forget about like worrying about monetizing it, right? It's got to be engaging. It's got to keep them coming. It's got to create buzz. Some of that ties into a lot of people are talking about with the creator economy, where we have shows that start on YouTube, right? And then they get picked up on streaming or even broadcast cable. Talk about that a little bit. Like, do you have to have an audience for a show for it to, I mean, de-risk it as a potential hit, or can you still use your current media platform to generate audience?
Well, chicken and egg. I think not everybody is meant to be a quote unquote creator.
Hmm
And that doesn't mean you can't be successful, but it certainly helps. And what we're seeing is that actors who are successful in embodying the creator sort of the creator mindset are being cast in TV shows and movies. Athletes who are good at creator work, in addition to their athletic skills, have more financial opportunities,
hmm
maybe even being, picked up in drafts because that's a factor to consider. And
mm
so that doesn't mean that if you are not skilled as a creator that you won't still get work and monetization opportunities, but it certainly helps. I mean, I know somebody that has a is a really talented writer, and their two-book deal was more or less sealed when the publisher realized what a large social following they already had.
Hmm. Yeah, so it can go both ways. You can create a hit and it can find a following, or you have a following and it definitely de-risks the title from an investor perspective. That's really interesting. Well, I can't let you go without asking the question that's been a buzz for really the better part of last year, and it's AI and how AI is impacting the media and entertainment industry. There's a lot of buzz, some of it real, some of it not so real. If you were to give like a 30,000 foot view of what you see right now about its impact and maybe a little bit about what might change in the future, how do you encapsulate the impact that AI has on media and entertainment?
Well, I can tell you what I hope for, which is that I'd love to see AI removes what has become a lot of the drudgery from
Mm.
the media industry and allow creative people to spend more time doing creative things, whether that's investigative reporting is not creative. Let me just say, but requires more time and effort and sort of creative thinking in approach. Same thing on the entertainment side. I'd love to see uh, people thinking about making movies differently if AI can allow them to not spend, maybe so much time and money on, let's say, post-production. Maybe they can put more money into who they cast or
Mm.
how they're producing it or the locations that they're able to shoot in. And so I would love to see um, the advances of AI used to really further investment of time and resources into creativity.
I like that. So take away the drudgery, let people be more creative, let them do the analysis, let them do the synthesis, let them kind of expand beyond the sort of drudgery of their day job. That's a good way to look at it.
Well, I don't want to sugarcoat it. There are certainly threats to, certain jobs and functions,
Mm.
but I would just encourage us all to think about how we can use it to do what we came to do in the first place, which is either, make art, report, stop corruption in the news industry,
Mhm.
by through better reporting and journalism. I like all of those things I think
Entertain,
can be
engage
enabled by AI.
fans, all that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, one of the things we like to do in this podcast, Christy, is to personalize some of the luminaries and get to know you a little bit better. Is there anything you can share, an interest or a hobby that you do outside of work that you can share with our audience?
Well, I love to ski and I'm somewhat adept at snowboarding as well, but I was on the ski team in college and
No way, I didn't know that about you. That's so
yeah.
cool. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love to get out on a mountain with snow.
So over the holiday break, I got up to North Conway with the family at an Airbnb. We did a little skiing. And you know what I found is like I skied and then in my 20s, I guess I learned to snowboard and loved it. My body can't take it anymore. I'm back on skis. Like it's just you catch that front edge one too many times and you just I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I had to pick only one, it would be skiing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one of the few sports you can really take with you pretty much your whole life. Maybe tennis, throw in there golf. But skiing and eventually you can do, cross country skiing. So, do you have any favorite mountains you go to?
I love really cold mountains, Brian. I like to go to Canada.
Oh,
I like
wow,
I
okay.
like Mont Tremblant. I like Mont
Okay.
Saint Anne. I like, I like to get really cold.
Yeah, it's
Sugarloaf
fun. I don't
in
mind
Maine.
cold. Icy, not so much though. I mean, there's something to be said for going out to, I don't know, North Star and up in Tahoe or, or somewhere in Colorado or whatever. Get that pow pow.
It's really two different experiences, though, isn't it? It's sort of
It
like,
is.
are we going for Italian or Mexican tonight? There's really
True.
different
True.
things.
I don't know. I'm just not the best skier, so give me some nice fluffy snow to fall into, and I'm happy. Well, listen, Christy, this has been a pleasure. It's been great getting to know you, learning a few things I didn't know about you, and also getting your insights in the industry. Congrats and good luck with Swerve. Freestyle Trampoline is very excited to be partnering with you going forward. So yeah, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Once again, Brian Mahoney, CEO of Trend Research and your host at OTT Executive Podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Signing off.